If you caught any of that, I was just telling Dr. Laura her mic was banging a little bit against her necklace. What a beautiful necklace that is, by the way. Gorgeous.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Welcome, Dr. Laura. And I'm Dr. Heather Denniston. And you know what? She and I were talking this weekend and thought, why not start a little temporary, regular coffee with the docs? And so that you guys can ask your questions, get inspiration, get encouragement. We're just going to have a conversation and you chime in and ask us anything that you want. Welcome, Dr. Laura. Thank you for joining me today.
You're so welcome. You know, I love to be on live with you when it works.
Yeah, when it works. Yeah, so we're a few minutes late because we were trying to do the Facebook thing where you just pull another person in, and for some reason it was extraordinarily complicated. So that's okay. We'll get it figured out by next week. So our plan is to go live Mondays at 11:30 PST, 2:30 EST, and I hope you will just mark your calendar for the next 4 or 5 weeks and join us as we navigate this tricky time together. And I'd love to hear from you, Laura. How are you faring at home?
Well, I think it just depends on when you ask me, actually, Heather. If you asked me yesterday, I would have been like, I'm making the best of it. I'm really enjoying this time together. I cleaned out the junk drawer. I'm connecting with my kids. This morning I got up. I was foul. Holy cow.
And that's okay, right? We don't have this all figured out. I went through that last week. It's like a light switch went off. I was all do 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 do, and then this light switch off, and I'm like, and and I wonder if the folks out there are feeling that way as well. So you've been doing some house like purging, like the rest of us have been doing.
I think it just depends on the day, right? So some days I feel like this is such a great opportunity, and I feel like it's the universe is just rallying around us, and so nice. I'm outside in nature. I'm doing these kinds of things. So I have moments, hours, a day or two where I'm doing that, and then I have other times where I'm bummed, right? Yeah. I just feel like the rug's been kind of pulled out from underneath me. Mm-hmm. And I know you and I are going to try and connect in with the things that are keeping us pointed in the direction that we want to go as best we can. But I mean, the reality is, for me, is I had some really great things going on in my life. I had just started some new ventures. I was feeling like I was gaining momentum. And like a lot of people, I sort of feel like WTF is going on. And let's face it, I mean, we've never been in this situation before. I mean, we've all personally experienced hardships. I don't know. Yeah. But this is different. How is it for you?
Well, I think it's like you just said it so great. We've all had hardships, but this is a global hardship. And so we are all connected together energetically. So it's a collective suffering. And and in that respect, I think, I don't know that we've ever had such a collective suffering in our 49 years of history. And so yeah, and I love that, you are this incredibly wise and experienced wellness professional, and you're okay getting on here in the first 30 seconds and saying, yeah, some of this really sucks and we get down. And I do too, for sure. And so I think it's what we do with that time and how we pull ourselves out of it. And I know we're going to get into that. Now, for those of you that don't know Dr. Foster, she leads regular retreats, all kinds of different retreats, but primarily focused on wellness and on activating your inner voice, and on, or not even activating, but rediscovering, I think was probably a better way to say it. And I would love to know, are you in touch with a lot of your people who have been to your events, who are reaching out to you and saying, I have these questions, and what are those questions? What are they asking you? What do they want to know?
Well, I mean, I've been still continuing to coach through all of this. I do my coaching online, so that hasn't shifted. And I, like you, I'm doing my best to be of service to the people I care about and the people I've been working with. But also, the flip side of that is it's also really nice for me and makes me feel like there's some semblance of normal. I think the questions that are coming up for a lot of people are, what do we do with this? And this is how I'm feeling. And, do you have any sort of recommendations? Am I alone in this? I feel this way or that way, or I'm afraid, or, we've really been talking about everything from the financial realities for all of us, really, to differing amounts. But for sure, everybody is going to feel the financial and economic slowdown, whatever that means. And so I've been really brainstorming with some of my clients on what can you do, what can control right now, and then also just honoring people's feelings, because you do want to kind of have a stiff upper lip, and you want to be this way or that way for the people you care about. And you also want to be a service to your community. But it's really hard to know where to fit in that balance. Yeah. What about you?
I think that's true. There was a course I took where it talked about hiking up at the side of a mountain with a backpack, and your backpack is the figurative or visual representation of all that you carry in your world, your burdens, your responsibilities, all of those things. And some of us have fuller backpacks than others. And so I've been thinking a lot about the analogy, because it goes on to talk about, we're in the process of okay, we want to help community. So then we're putting other new things in our backpack, and we want to take care of ourselves. So we will also want to make sure that we aren't extending help if we don't have it to give, and if we're an empty reserve. And so I think that's really important, and finding out where your help is most useful at the same time of making sure that you're taking care of your own feelings. And what I'm finding, Laura, and I don't know if you are, I'm finding people are devaluing their own feeling and journey through this because others are suffering more than them. And I'd love for you to touch on that for me, because how do you make it okay for people to cry and say, this sucks, I don't have anybody who's died, I don't even know anyone who's infected, maybe my finances aren't going to be completely depleted, but I'm still hurting. So how do we deal with that?
Well, I mean, I think you just said it. I mean, not devaluing our feelings, because our story is just as important as somebody else's. And if you want to be of service to other people, there is only one way to do that. And that is to make sure that you are serving your heart every single day in the way that it needs to be. And I think the only way to do that is to ask yourself every day, what do I need today? Because what you needed yesterday may not look like what you need right now. I know that's the case for me. Some days I'm kind of just zipping along, and I'm feeling the burden a little bit more energetically, because we're all energetic beings. Yeah. So I'm feeling the energetic load a little bit more. So I really feel like, we're a blended family in my house. So we have 4 kids, and they're almost all adults, but they're just little hearts like everybody else. And I really realized that my heart's the same. So in the past, I would have sort of put on my I'm the mom hat, and very much, don't worry, I still am. Lots of feeding going on. I am very much the mom, but I'm still a heart. And I can tell that I have more to give when I just constantly ask myself what I need. And I need more space. I need a little bit more time. I need the pace to slow down. And you're like, well, that's easy, because most of us have come to a roaring stop. Yeah. Some, not all. There's lots of essential workers. There's lots of people who work from home. I get it. But there are a lot of us that are standing going, I'm not doing my regular thing. Yeah. And that is okay, as long as you use that time to be checking in, not checking out. Right? I just feel like if you can check in, whether it be a minute, 10 minutes, half an hour, whatever it is, whatever's your process, and just ask yourself what you need today in this moment, so that you can give that to yourself, so that you can show up more for not only yourself, but the other people in your life. Because, we know this. We can't help other people if we're depleted. Yeah. And that will change on the daily, I think.
I think so too. I love the whole vibe of self-compassion through everything that you've just said, and how important that is. And sometimes it's amazing how difficult a time we have offering ourselves a level of compassion that we would so easily give to anybody else. And we don't to ourselves. I have a question for you. I don't know if you're prepared to answer this, but you have been doing this kind of work for a long time. And when you say, I check in with myself, I ask myself what I need, that comes easier to you now than it probably does to a lot of people. So if I'm new to this, and this is the first time I've had stillness or silence in my life, and it terrifies me, and I don't know how to freaking ask myself what I need, what's a tool that you can suggest for somebody to look inside and pull out what it is that I need right now?
So just giving you a heads up so you can think about this for a second.
Okay.
I'm going to turn that question on you as well. But for me, I have it right here. I'm going to show you something that is always around me, and that is I am a giant fan of white paper and this little fine point Sharpie.
Hold on, don't go anywhere.
She's going to have it too. You watch. Where's yours?
Okay.
You got it?
I got it. And you are a pen to paper person, and why is that important?
Pen to paper is really important because when we start to process things from the chin up, we get into thinking. And you might be familiar, that word overthinking, where the hamster wheel is going around and around and around. And I will tell you, you will never stop thinking, but you rarely overthink yourself to a solution. But what it is, the truth of it is that we know what we need, but it's not up here, it's down here. So one of the ways that we access that is to place pen to paper. For one, when we think, our brain races. But when you write, you have to slow it down. And your pen will start to go, and you can just write what you write, and having no judgment and also no responsibility for what comes out in the paper. But when you put pen to paper, and it can be as simple as I need is, or how I feel today is. Actually, I did write down, there is a wonderful, incredible online woman. Her name is Amber Ray, Amber, and her last name is Ray, Rae. Yeah, I don't know where it went. And what she does is she has Instagram journal prompts all over her Instagram page. And they are incredible. And they are the simplest little line introduction. And all you need to do is just start writing. Your truth will emerge. Your feelings, what you need, what you see on that paper is something to behold. You don't need to be responsible for it. You can even tell yourself that you don't even need to act upon it. But as long as you're allowing that to come out of you, you will learn something about yourself. You can't unread what you read, and you can't unhear what you hear. So I think that's a great way to start it.
I think that's
instead
awesome.
of always just talking. What do you do? What do you do to tap in?
I think I also have been practicing that for a long time. And I am a huge list writer. When you grabbed yours, I was like, this is like just every week I know. And I section them out into, it's just how I do it. And
I know.
And that to me, like, because then I can focus on the different roles and responsibilities in my life. And then it doesn't all seem so overwhelming because I'm like, oh, okay, this part is just for the change cave. Okay. And this part over here is just for my speaking agenda. And this is for meal planning. So it's a little bit easier to organize. But I think the answer that might be more useful is that I can connect deepest with myself when I'm in movement. So if I can go for a walk and just and kind of just quiet my mind a little bit just by like focusing on the clouds or focusing on the trees, and then clarity kind of starts to come to me, and I can start to identify either what I need or maybe something I want to do today that might be good for my heart. I've been focusing a lot on joy and play, and so if all else fails, I try to do something playful. Maybe it's dancing, maybe it's listening to music, maybe it's I've started this new thing called animal flow, which is just getting down on the ground and doing like crawling and rolling around and just stuff that feels really innate and base, but is pleasurable and relaxing to the body so the brain can kind of clear up. So I love that. And then what if, I put Amber Ray's name up there for a minute. A woman who I've only just started following is Nicole Sachs. Her whole thing is called Journal something. I don't even know.
We'll post it.
She works primarily with those with chronic pain or chronic conditions, but her whole like journal format is really, really cool too, and quite innovative. So there's a couple references for you guys on those. It's Nicole Sachs, and then I had Amber Ray up there as well.
Yeah.
Is that a right spelling there, Laura?
You know what? I can't actually see
Okay.
it. So
Okay. No worries. It's over on my side. So
I'll take a look.
yeah.
I did want to say one thing about it, which is if you have a hard time connecting to what's important for you right now, one of the clues I give people a lot of time is just to be really curious about your responses to your life. So just like I'll often say, you know, success leaves clues, so do the emotional reactions to your own life. So if you find yourself being really happy about something, or you find a lot of joy in doing some of the things you're doing, just ask yourself, you know, instead of, have you ever done this? First of all, let me back up. And you're like, oh my gosh, that was so much fun. And that's usually where you leave it, right?
Yeah.
But I say, ask yourself, why was it so much fun? Like, start to ask the question beneath the answer. So just keep going down the funnel and asking yourself, what did I love about that? I don't know, I love this, I felt like that, and well, why did you enjoy that so much? And the reason I ask that is you start to really see what lights you up. And conversely, when you find yourself really frustrated, or you find yourself angry, or you're short and tight, I don't know if anybody else has felt like that, but if you find yourself irritated, instead of just having the reaction of being irritated, say, what irritated me so much about that? And then whenever that answer is, why did I feel that way about that? And why did I feel that way about that? And it will start, if you can just playfully, if anything, ask yourself these questions, it will start to reveal to you what it is that you need to move away from. Because what will happen in a lot of these cases, when our stress levels start to increase and we start to feel like we can control fewer and fewer things, we start to react more to the things around us, because what was once an okay boundary in a lot of cases now becomes too soft of a boundary. Like, I don't know if you find that, but before I would go through social media and I would see things I didn't agree with or whatever, and I just 99 times out of 100 I just float right past them and I don't even. But lately I've been reading things and getting a bit irritated about it, and then sometimes wanting to respond, which is kind of a thing I don't really do. I try not to, because why? Right. But anyways, the point being is I really noticed that a lot of things are kind of irritating. Why? Because my resiliency is lower. So I'm noticing, for me, that means I need to create some more boundaries. So some of the boundaries I've been doing have just been flat out unfollowing somebody on social media that really is jacking me up lately, and or shutting down my Facebook feed or my social media feed more and more and more. And purposefully, and this is where we're getting into having an empowering schedule every day, purposely doing less of something that I used to be okay with. But I can tell my reaction. I know myself well enough, and this can be something you can check in with yourself, is I'm reacting. There's something I need to check out there. There's a decision that needs to be made. There is a no that used to be a yes. There's a stop sign I need to make. There's something that I need to do to create some distance between me and whatever's happening.
I love that it's a no when it used to be a yes. That is so cool, because I think sometimes we make a decision and we just stick to the decision because we made the decision and we've put so much into that decision. And so why would we now turn away from that? And it's like, oh my gosh, every moment is its own moment. And whatever time investment or whatever you put into that particular yes, it's okay that it's a no now. And
totally.
Yeah. And I think one of the greatest things about this time period is, I use the tennis ball analogy. If you're juggling 25 tennis balls and all of a sudden you drop them all, well, that gives you complete carte blanche to decide which ones to pick up. And so we're in a time right now where the universe, like the world as I think of it, has done this thing, like it always is expanding and contracting, right? And it's going through this like major contraction or major expansion, however you want to look at it. But it's an opportunity for all of us on a micro and a macro level to go, hold the F on, like, just a minute. What am I doing personally? What is my family doing with the schedules that we've had that now we don't, and now we're connecting? And, like, these are some great questions that we can be asking. I don't know if that was anything to do with what you were talking about.
I don't know, but that's the thing that makes me excited about what's going on, is I feel like there's a portal that's opened. And
Mm.
and you can walk through it and you can redesign some aspects of your life. You know,
Yeah,
like you said, if you put the ball down, you don't have to pick that ball back up. And
exactly.
one of my mentors said on a call the other day, he said, I know a lot of you on this call right now have things that you want to say. You have
Mm.
things you want to bring to the world. You have a way that you want to show up in your life that you've never showed up before. Now's the time to do it because no one's paying attention to you.
Yeah.
I mean, that wasn't exactly what he
No,
said.
but that's kind of true. It's like a great opportunity, right? And also everybody's kind of at the start line. And so it's kind of like everybody's getting ready to kind of, and this is your chance. How do you want to fly off the start line? Like this is a brand new start line for everybody. And I think that's crazy. So can we move into fear? Because I'm wondering, how are you coaching some of your clients around this just underlying panic or fear that they have in different degrees? Do you have practical, tactical, strategical things that you give, or is it more of a just kind of a mindset?
You know, honestly, I just take each experience for what it is.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I am equally interested in what your answer is. I think it depends on what the fear is. First of all, emotions are energy,
Mm.
and I think they're incredibly important to notice and to check in and be aware of and to honor, for goodness sakes. Like
Yeah.
really, really
Yes.
super important. The ones we're having, other people's, of course, but also the ones we're having because we tend to
Yeah.
skip over those ones. And just also recognize that they're like clouds in the sky. They do have a tendency to just kind of come and
Yeah.
go. So try not to get so attached to what we think our reality is, because we don't have as much control over our reality as we always thought we did anyways. So this lack of control that we're feeling, you know, yeah, maybe it's a couple more degrees, but you didn't have as much control as you might have thought anyhow.
Yes.
So there's that. And then get down to it, because you and I both sat down and we said, why don't we talk about things we can control and things we can't?
Mm-hmm.
And so for a lot of people, making the distinction about what can I work on? For example, I had somebody who was like, my whole business has collapsed. Like, I do this kind of business, and now in this situation where I'm at, this is going to rock everything. And I'm like, okay, so let's go there, right? So, I mean, why not go there for a few minutes?
Yeah.
What can you control? Well, number one thing that I would recommend for everybody is lean up. You know, like I know sometimes when we're afraid, we want to be incredibly hopeful. So we think, well, hopefully I can just hold on and this will be shorter than I think it's going to be. Well, I don't know. You don't know. We don't
Yeah.
know what it is we're talking about. And instead of being totally freaked out about that, saying to yourself, well, what can I do without right now? So I went through my business and I said, I don't need this part. I can stop that subscription. I'm going to call this service provider, see if I can negotiate a new rate. I'm calling this service provider and seeing if I can change this. And
Mm-hmm.
I was speaking with somebody who did that, and they like lopped a couple $100 off their monthly budget, which
Mm-hmm.
maybe you don't think that's a big deal, but that's food. You know, that's putting the things. I mean, that's money in your pocket.
Yeah.
So do what you can do, and then be creative and be unique. How can you show up, for example, in business in a way that's new? So this is
Yeah.
what you were talking about. You dropped all those balls. What can you do? Well, do you notice how people are becoming creative with the online? You know, Zoom
Yes.
said that their rate subscriptions is through the
Yeah.
roof rather. So you know, you can do that. What do you think? How's it
Yeah,
showing up?
I love all of that too, and I think I've heard the term pivot, don't panic. So
Yeah.
pivoting into something new, and I love that you also said um, don't run away from the fear. There's a great author, a pastor, who wrote something like, I think it's called Blue Like Me or something like that, where he was witness to a horrible catastrophe. His whole family died in a car accident except for him. And he's talking about grief, but he's really talking about fear and stress and all of that. And he says, it's like a big, horrible storm coming toward you. If you turn and just keep running away from it, it's going to just keep following you. But if you turn and you go through it and you really let yourself feel it, and and ask yourself the questions over and over again. Okay, so what is it that I'm really afraid of here? Let's take our current situation as it is. There's a lot of fear around what's the virus going to do? How's it going to impact? Ask those questions, journal them. What's your answers? What's the worst case scenario? Like, go there. But then I think we capsulate that, and I think I always love the saying, I'm going to bastardize it. Something along the lines of joy is the conqueror of anxiety. You can't both be anxious and joyful at the same time. And so although you may not be able to control your fear or your anxiety, you can choose to do something joyful, in which case those things get pushed off to the side a little bit and your body gets a break while it's enjoying something joyful. And so I think instead of trying to like stuff fear into this thing and close it and try to put it somewhere where we don't have to see it, we allow ourselves to experience it, and then we choose joy. And whatever, you have to be able to identify what makes you joyful. Is it a giggling kid? Is it funny YouTube videos? Is it looking up at a blue sky? One of my clients, her favorite thing to do is look up at a starry sky. I'm like, when was the last time you did that? She's like, I don't know. I'm like, tonight is when you're doing it. And she's done it every night since, is go and look at a starry sky for 10 full minutes, really breathe it in, and your joy is up, anxiety is down. Yeah. And so that's what I would say is a good starting point if you're feeling super fearful, is to feel it, but then choose joy.
Well, and I think some of us are anxious about having any level of levity right now. And giving yourself permission to still take this seriously, because we all need to take it seriously. So we feel like when we need to take something seriously, we got to put it right smack dab, like the elephant in the room, and we got to keep moving around this elephant in this tiny space. And instead saying, I see it. Yeah. I'm acknowledging it. Yes. I'm living by the principles that require me to give it its due diligence. Yes. And I'm allowing myself the space. I'm giving myself permission for levity. Right? I watched the most inappropriate comedian on Netflix yesterday. I laughed so hard in front of and I want to say this just so people don't think I'm awful, 16, 17, 18, and 19-year-old children. I laughed so hard about the most inappropriate thing.
Which is great. Like that's awesome. And I think that's such a good point, that some people feel like they have to feel the burden of the world and that they can't enjoy their time right now. And that's doing a service to nobody because it depletes your energy. It does not make your brain work at its optimal, so that you cannot be kind of constructing new ideas and being creative for your business or for your family or for whatever it is. And so I think that's great, is ridiculous, inappropriate Netflix.
Or whatever, right?
Whatever it is for you.
Whatever floats your boat right now.
Yeah, I love that.
I did want to say, and we have a few things. I don't know how long we've been on here, so I suspect you'll
27 minutes and we're fine. I figured let's do like 45 minutes.
Yeah, whatever. I'm sure somebody will just turn us off when they're sick of us. Okay, so things that I check in with. I know this is back up to the old things, but I wrote a few things that I check in with. I check in with my heart. That's just a me thing. So I'm like, that's the part where we talked about, where I'm like, what do I need? What does my heart need? And literally, sometimes I'm feeling like I just need to put my hands over my heart. That's like, I feel that. I also, we have this big piece of paper we're putting up in our living room today, because we're going to talk about this with our whole family, because I feel like we might be doing this a while. So we need to have a routine a little bit. So what are we doing for our heart? What are we doing for our connection with each other and with the people we care about? So this, I suspect things we're going to put up there will be things like FaceTiming with grandma and grandpa, FaceTiming with our friends, but also with each other. We can still go hiking in the forest, those kinds of things, because we're segregated together. Learning. I'm a really creative person. If I don't learn, right? So I have a whole bunch of things that I would love to learn about, and I know everybody does too. And so even though school is kind of coming, probably the school year is going to be canceled. One of our sons is going into grade 12, so maybe he can take one online course. My other son's going to college in the fall. The other one already is doing some online learning. So we're all kind of look at the learning thing. Movement. Oh my goodness. You and I, that's our staple.
Totally.
So as a group and individually, what are we doing for movement? Because we become cray-cray if we don't do that. And what are we
Yeah.
doing for nourishment? Right? Because
Good.
the over things, the over drinking, the
Yep.
overeating, the over processed food, all those things make us feel like CRAP.
Yeah.
And although they feel good, maybe, sort of, yeah, they do sometimes in the moment, they are not a good long-term strategy. And I think we need to build in some good strategies for ourselves. So connection, heart, learning, movement, and nourishment.
Awesome.
I also have I have a category for the work I do in the world. So
Yeah.
those are the things that I'm kind of honoring, and that might seem like a lot for people, but
No,
that's kind of what's working.
I think that's great. One interesting point is I set my word of the year as connection, which I was just laughing this morning. I'm like, well, this is
Yeah.
definitely.
Thanks a lot, Heather.
And I just thought I right before I got on with you, I got off a Zoom call with my closest university girlfriends. Last night we had a cocktail with some friends in another state, and I'm thinking to myself, why don't we do this more? Like, we have the technology, and clearly everybody has jumped on to learning the technology. And so I think that's really awesome. And I don't think that's too many things, because I think that's a great framework for us to talk about structure. That's one of the biggest questions I'm getting is, kids are sleeping in till 11 in the morning, and go get your schoolwork done, and there's just no, whereas I talked to somebody else and she said, we are up at 8:30, breakfast is done at 9:30, we are dressing for the day, we're not in pajamas all day, we are doing, projects of learning, and then we do projects of home in the afternoon, we have outside time, and so I just thought, okay, well, those are two opposite ends of the spectrum. What do you think about schedule and how to kind of stay sane during this time?
Yeah, I think it's really important to have an empowering routine, whatever that means for you. So the first question is, and you just detailed that, is where do you lend itself? And maybe you give yourself permission for certain days of the week to be the one where you wear your pajamas all day and then you put on a different pair of pajamas to go to bed.
Yeah.
Maybe that's one routine for you, and maybe that's a weekend, but maybe that's a Sunday, Tuesday, or Sunday, Thursday, whatever. And then maybe you have the other routine. I have to tell you, I brushed my hair and I kind of put a little curling iron in it, and I thought, well, that pepped me up.
Yes.
So I just thought about that because I pretty much have had horrible hair for about 6 or 7 days, and I thought, that's something to consider. So
yes,
my empowering routine tends to hinge off of how I start my day. So I'm going to start with that, and then I want to hear yours, and you can give me a little bit more info on that. But how I start my day is a little different right now, which is I'm letting myself stay up currently a little later, but I'm crawling out of bed around 7:30 right now. So I'm getting my 7 or 8 hours of sleep. And before anybody else is getting up, I need some time to myself. The first 4 or 5 days, I didn't do that. I think that was a problem for me. So now I'm downstairs with my dog, maximum petting, and I'm drinking my coffee, and I'm being creative, because my creativity is what I need to do. And that means writing something, journaling something, writing a post, sending something out to my community. I love that kind of stuff. It just fills me up, and it helps me tap into how I'm feeling, because the way that I create things in the world is first to tap into what's important to me right now. I can never write about something that doesn't resonate with me.
Yeah.
And then I currently am doing yoga every day. I mean, We're going out. I think I did 4 walks yesterday, honestly. I think I was walking myself out of feeling what was coming up today for me.
Yeah.
What are you doing? What is your empowering routine?
Yeah, it's I've gone a little bit like last week. I felt like I was on Corona vacation. So I was like, oh, okay, this we're all home, and I'm like, whoa, my schedule got way thrown off. I did not get done what I needed to get done. And I have been electing not to drink during the week, and I was drinking during the week. I'm like, what am I doing? This isn't working. And I love what you said about the pajamas thing. And then I'll tell you about my schedule, but where you said, because I was all ready to go to the place, you need to get dressed in the morning. And you're like, well, how do you feel when you are in your pajamas all day? And that's the bigger question is, when it comes to structure, how are you feeling near the end of the day? Do you feel like, okay, I feel empowered, I feel energetic, or do you feel like a sloth and it's like you're down. And so I think that's really good, Laura, what you said about it, tapping into what's empowering for you. So thank you for saying that. That was good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So routine. So, I'm getting up a little bit earlier. So 7:00 is my time. Normally I'm a little bit of a later riser, like 7:15, 7:30, but I've been finding getting up at 7. I just have a little fresher start to the day. I've started meditating in the morning. And for those of you that know me, you can get up off the floor and back onto your chair, because it is not my modus operandi. And so Headspace and I have forged a new friendship. And yes, I know. Thank you so much. And I am also creativity in the morning. So one of the things I'm doing in the morning is I've started keeping a wellness journal, and it is specifically writing about what did I do yesterday and what do I intend for today for self-care? Like, what do I want to eat? How am I going to move my body? How do I feel about what I ate yesterday? And no judgment, no analysis. It's just an outpouring, kind of like observing and analyzing, like, how am I doing in this space? And like you said, Laura, earlier on, when we put pen to paper, it slows us down. It pulls on our creativity. It gets us out of just executive function. And so I love that. And I think also I am structuring my day like a work day. So I'm working for a block of time in the morning. I always take a break to move my body in the middle of the day, a block of time in the afternoon. And then one big thing that we're doing is, this is such a great, because Brent now has 2 hours back in his day from his commute. We are really messing around with a lot of new recipes and home cooking because we can. And guess what? The grocery stores aren't out of fresh produce or fresh ingredients. There's lots. So we don't need to be worried about that. You can get that at any time right now. And so this is a great opportunity to pull out a recipe book and cook with your family. That's what I would say about structure.
Yeah. And I think, when I think about my boys and I think about learning, that's an example of learning.
Yes.
It's kind of like we all graduate and we're like, thank goodness we learned calculus and I can't do my taxes. There is no reason that a kid can come out of this and not know how to do their taxes.
Well, so totally.
Like, these are things that we have time to do. Like, when you talk about learning, I don't feel like my son needs to know that much more geography. I don't. But you know what he does need to do? He needs to know how to balance a budget. And he needs to understand a little bit about how money functions and flows in terms of everything from like investing to even just, like I said, budgeting to this and that. And also just cooking, like teaching your kids how to cook for themselves, like not necessarily making them create massive menus, but just like the functional stuff because that's important. And if your kids don't know how to do their laundry, get them to do their laundry. Yeah. Take all the things that happen in your house and get everybody to start doing them if they don't already. I mean, I think those are great things. I
think, Laura, too, I may be restating, but I think often we in our busy normal time think, oh, forget it, it's just faster if I do it myself. And so then we aren't teaching kind of some of the basics that we should. Well, now we do have that time, and this is such a gift. And I have so many kids in my life who are going off to college next year, and such a great opportunity, 15 easy meals that they can make, know how to do their laundry, know how to balance a checkbook and how to find their stuff online on their banking, and all of those things I think are great opportunities because we have a little bit of that time left. Yes. Good. Do you anything more for you?
Well, I don't know what we're going to talk about next week, the week after that, but I'm sure. I'm kidding.
I know.
We would have no problem.
We don't ever have a problem. But it does bring up a good point. If you are listening to this and you are like, you guys didn't touch on XYZ and I want you to, message us. Find Laura on Instagram at Soul Inspired. Yes.
Soul Inspired Girl, G-U-R-L.
Soul Inspired G-U-R-L. Soul Inspired G-U-R-L. Go find her on Instagram. Message her there. You can message me in the same place, Well Fit and Fed on Instagram. And let's interact before next week, and so that we can get a really good coffee time with the docs together. And we look forward to it. This has been so, so, so great. I'm so glad we're doing this. And I'm psyched. And I hope you guys are too. So yay! Yay!
Yay for us. And
Yeah,
yeah, I look forward to checking in with everybody next week.
absolutely. All right, Dr. Laura, we'll see you again next week, okay?
Sounds good.